Hey yo, Fro Podcast listeners, help us out. Click subscribe to show your support. Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of the Fro Wrestling Podcast. I want to first, before I do anything else, I want to thank all the people who tuned in on Saturday night, May 6th for our first ever live show. What an enjoyable experience it was for me, and I'm glad to have gotten so much response from you guys. I truly appreciate every person who takes the time to tune in to our broadcast and our episodes. It means the world to me. Thank you so much for your support, and I wanted to make sure that that was the number one item on the docket for today, was to make sure that I show my appreciation to all those people who really made that event a success. And because of that, I'm going to try to make that a more of a regular occurrence. The live interaction was actually very cool to me, so I'm going to shoot for another one. Why not? We'll shoot for one this Saturday night, 9 o'clock, May 13th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will pop on, and here's the thing. After the tournament finals, for those who did not get to see that episode, did not get to hear that episode, we had the semifinals and the finals of our 128-man tournament went down. We had live voting. We ended up having our finals, saw Hulk Hogan versus Brock Lesnar, with Hulk Hogan taking our first ever 128-man greatest champion of all time tournament championship. And the immediate feedback I got was two things. One, people really appreciated that I took the time to put together so many people that were world champions, and what I thought was interesting was people were actually telling me that they had no idea certain people had ever been a world champion before. So, for example, one person was like Tommy Rich. The only time they had heard of Tommy Rich was in ECW as a member of the FBI, and I said, no, Tommy Rich was a big thing in the early 80s, and I believe it was 1981, 82, somewhere in that time frame, he held the NWA World Championship for a whopping 3 days or some nonsense like that. But at the end of the day, it's cool to see that some people are both entertained, but also learning some nifty things about the business they may not have known about in the past. So thank you again to all those people. And this Saturday night's episode, if we do one of these live shows, one of the things that I got a lot of during that live broadcast was people asking me if I was going to take this to a whole new level and do a tag team tournament. And so I got off that live podcast episode, and I really thought about that for a day or two, and I was like, you know what? I guess earlier today I was like, I guess I'll put that together, and I'll try to come up with tag teams. So then it creates a little bit of an issue. What do you do for the tag team tournament? You can't just throw out the obvious names, and you obviously got to put in the Road Warriors and the Steiners and Harlem Heat and teams like that, and Hart Foundation and stuff like that. But when you get to certain people, Shawn Michaels, here's a great example for you. Do you put in Shawn Michaels in the Rockers? Do you put him with Triple H in D-Generation X? Do you put him out there with Diesel when he and Diesel were having a run? Because all three of those incarnations had a major impact. Do you put somebody like Arn Anderson only in there with Tully Blanchard, considering they stopped being a tag team in 1989? That discounts the rest of Arn Anderson's career. He held tag team championships with Paul Roma. He held tag team championships with other people, Bobby Eaton. He held tag team championships with Larry Zbyszko. So it's really hard. So I decided that I'm going to try to include as many as I can. And that brought me to 256 tag teams. Now, granted, there are going to be certain tag teams that don't stand a snowball's chance in heck of making it very far in the tournament at all, and that is completely okay with me. It's going to take me longer to put together the brackets, much less find the top tier talent, who to put against the weak talent, just to weed out the weak ones. I'm only putting the weaker talents in there for one reason. Just to give you guys a moment to look back at who has made up some of the best tag teams of all time. And I will apologize in advance. There's a lot of tag teams from, yesteryear that I did not include in the list. For example, the Fabulous Kangaroos are a huge tag team from the 50s and 60s. They're not in the tournament. The oldest version of the Hollywood Blondes will not be in the tournament because that's going back to the 50s and 60s. I tried to keep it more contemporary to a degree. There are some classic tag teams in there. You will see people like Harley Race and Larry the Axe Hennig and stuff like that as a tag team, but I wanted to keep it as contemporary as I can. So I only put in the huge marquee tag teams from yesteryear, and everything else is pretty much from the 80s on. So we'll get that started on Saturday night, 9 p.m., May 13th, and we'll get you guys to, in this situation, have you guys do live voting for some of those opening round matches. So I can't do them all, obviously. 256 teams means we got 128 matches in the opening round. I certainly don't want to be podcasting for 8 hours a day, so that's not going to happen. But I will, in as soon as I get those brackets out for you, I will give you guys on Saturday night the first so many, and that way you guys can get your opinions out there and get this tag team tournament started the way it should be. I got so many suggestions, people wanting the tag tournament. Some people wanted a cruiserweight tournament. I don't know if I could put together enough talent for a cruiserweight tournament that wouldn't seem almost like it doesn't have enough substance. It'd be really hard to, like, who do you put in there? You put people like Brian Pillman and Jushin Thunder Liger, but Liger's still wrestling against Tasha Michinoku and Kushida and people like that in Japan. It's going to become Japan heavy, and then the Will Ospreays and the Ricochets jump in there, and then you forego a lot of WWE talent. So it might get out of hand. So I don't want to just do tournaments about everything. I will do a women's tournament at some point. I don't know how soon I'll get that together for you, but I will get one of those when we're done this tag team. Probably that'll be my next thing on the list. But we'll see. We'll go from there. Please do not forget, if you have not been there yet, the Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ProWrestlingPodcast. That's patreon.com/ProWrestlingPodcast. If you want to become a patron of our page, of our podcast, of our vlog, or whatever you want to call this, and you want to be a contributing member, we would greatly appreciate that. And we do have incentives there for you, for those who want to contribute, all the way down to the people who contribute $1 a month. You throw in $1 a month into that Patreon page, and we're going to make sure we put you into the spotlight of our comment section and acknowledge the people who are sponsoring our show, all the way up to a deluxe package where you and I could host a show together live on a Saturday Night Live broadcast. We'll get you in here via telephone call-in, and you and I can run the show and go over various topics, and there's a whole lot of tiers in between there. So, by all means, if you are interested in being a patron for us, we would greatly appreciate it. The page again was patreon.com/ProWrestlingPodcast, patreon.com/ProWrestlingPodcast, if you would like to be a patron member to our webpage. So, let's get things started with tonight. A couple things we have to cover, then we'll get into the Raw results. If you are looking at the clock when I post this, it'll look like Raw just went off the air. The reality is Raw was taped last night, and I already have the results. So I'm going to put the results in that manner, and then, if I have other comments after the show goes off the air tonight, I will include those in the SmackDown episode tomorrow. But moving into the actual news of the day, Braun Strowman. We've got a serious problem here because Strowman has become like a polarizing lightning rod in the world of professional wrestling. Everybody in the world is all over Braun right now, and he just got hurt, and he got hurt bad enough that he's going to miss 1 to 2 months of action, and that puts the WWE Great Balls of Fire match in jeopardy. And the reality of the situation is that Braun Strowman really looked like he was going to be a legitimate threat to Brock Lesnar and the Universal title. If I'm booking that match, incidentally, I have Braun win the championship, because I don't care how big a draw Brock Lesnar is. Braun Strowman is a legitimate tough guy. He's somebody who's there every week, and he really brings it. And I say that as he's going out on injury for 2 months, but you get what I'm saying. I much rather reward people who are going to be the day in and day out, show after show after show, loyal wrestlers who provide the entertainment to the fans every single day of the week. So that's just my opinion. But Strowman is going to be out. He injured his arm. He's going to be down for a little while. He's going to have a procedure done to fix up some loose ends in the elbow and whatnot. So they're going to write him off television tonight on Raw. And I guess if by the time you're listening to this, you will have already seen that, if you're a crazy lunatic Mark fan like myself and you tune into Raw when it's going on. The other injury news is Emma. Emma has had so much of a crazy career. She comes out being that goofy, boppy, doo-woppy girl with, with Santino Marella. That's what it was. Who was doing that stupid dance and everything. And then she left, repackaged as this evil Emma character. And that didn't really get over all the way. And then she got hurt. She was out for a better part of a year. Finally has like a 17-week build up to a crazy character. They scrapped the whole character. She finally makes her return to wrestling. She wrestles one match, and now while they're over in Europe doing this European tour, she gets hurt. She tore up her shoulder. She's got issues, and we're not sure what the exact extent of the injury is or how long she'll be out, but it is definitely going to keep her out in the short term. So we wish her a speedy recovery, but it's becoming a pattern that her career is just destined to be insane. There's another interview out this week. Batista did an interview on the Chris Jericho podcast, and he made it very clear that he is only coming back to professional wrestling for one thing and one thing only, and that would be a retirement program working against Triple H at WrestleMania. He has made it very clear that he has talked to Triple H about this in the past. He's talked to Vince McMahon, and they don't seem to be interested in that program, but that is the only thing he's interested in doing. One of the interesting things he said to me, the thing that really blew my mind, is he said he misses wrestling. He loves the wrestling, but he doesn't miss the company at all. And he repeatedly talked about the BS that goes on in that company. And I find it somewhat interesting. Here's a guy who has never had a proper send-off to end his career. So you would want him to come back at some point and do that. But then you're trash-talking the same company that you want to come back and perform for. It's a very strange thing, the wrestling world. And hopefully, bookers and promoters have short-term memory. Because if not, this could really be a barrier to him being able to go out the way he wants at some point if they're ever interested in that match. And let's face it, Dave Batista started late in his life. He was in his mid-30s when he got started, so he doesn't have an infinite amount of time to be able to put together whatever programs he's going to do in his career. So if he's coming back, it's got to be in the short term, not the long term, because there's not enough time. Rene Dupree was out and had an interview. I saw this one on eWrestlingNews.com where he spoke on the JBL bullying situation. I know we cover this a lot, but the reason I do that is because there have been so many different opinions about what happened, and he commented saying that JBL, in the back, he gets everybody else to do his dirty work. But obviously, Rene Dupree also has seen this bullying behavior. This is something that continues to not go away. I know Rene Dupree is not considered to be the backbone of the wrestling business, but you do not want, if you're WWE and you have an anti-bullying campaign, you want this story to go away. You don't want to keep having wrestlers from yesteryear keep popping up and rehashing this bullying situation. And not only did JBL not have any form of punishment whatsoever, but now he's gotten promoted to having a separate show on the network after they just canceled his other show. It almost makes it look like he, in some ways, got a reward for being a bully. It's just my opinion. That's what it looks like on the surface. This past weekend, Jim Ross and Nigel McGuinness are the ones calling the WWE UK television program that they filmed over the weekend. If you did not read the spoilers already, don't, because I really think you guys will enjoy seeing it instead of, it's not like a Raw. We all know that Raw pretty much books the same matches week in and week out, and you can almost expect to pick the winners every week without even watching the show. I ain't gonna lie to you, when I read the results that were taped, earlier today, I had no surprise. There was no shock to me in any of it. So, but this sounds like a really good show. I did read the spoilers because that's what I do, because I'm too much of a Mark fan, and going through that, it looks like it's a solid show. I really am impressed with everything they're doing with Tyler Bate. I love what they're doing with Pete Dunne. I even enjoy some of the stuff they're doing with Mark Andrews and Trent Seven, Wolfgang. Like, they have a really good talent pool to build this UK brand. My concern is that all the people I just mentioned have programs that are long-standing and running with other promotions in the United Kingdom, and WWE is pretty much ignoring their existence. And the problem with that is you have a stable over there. You have British Strong Style, which is made up of Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, and Pete Dunne. They're tag team partners in every other company in Europe except for the WWE, where they're supposedly feuding with each other. It doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're a UK wrestling fan and you're in the United Kingdom, why would you buy into any of this stuff? Because you already know that these guys are part of a tag team. So, moving on, we're going to jump into Ring of Honor. This weekend was the War of the Worlds show. I'm going to run through the results, give you some feedback, my opinion, and we'll move on from there. Rhett Titus and Caprice Coleman defeat the Motor City Machine Guns. That's never going to make me happy to say. I think the Machine Guns really, a few years back in TNA, they were just unstoppable, and anymore, it's almost like they're mid-card jobbers, and it's the way I feel. Like, I don't see them doing anything of substance, and it's a shame, because I love their whole gimmick, but right now, not happening for them. Hiroki Goto defeated Shane Taylor. Dalton Castle and the boys defeat Roppongi Vice and Ghetto, which I did not expect. I would have expected that to go the other way. Bully Ray defeated Hangman Page and Punishment Martinez. Cody defeated Will Ospreay in what is being called an instant classic. and I can't wait for people, the masses, to be able to see this, pulling it up on YouTube or wherever you need to. Cody has really redefined himself over the last year, and he is now one of the best entertainers in the world. Not a bad wrestler either, but he's to the point now where he's really transcending from just being an athlete into really being a great entertainer. Will Ospreay, I hope he makes it to WWE at some point, because that is just a match just waiting to happen as far as the partnership between he and WWE. After you see the success of people like Finn Balor, I can't even imagine what they do with Will Ospreay. Tetsuya Naito and Bushi defeated Matt Taven and Vinny Marseglia. We had the Briscoes defeat Evil and Sonata, and Beer City Bruiser and Silas Young in a 3-way tag team match. Kushida defeated Jay Lethal. I did not expect to see that. Now, if Jay Lethal was taking part in the Best of the Super Juniors tournament in New Japan Pro Wrestling, I would understand this. But with him not doing that, you're taking your number one contender to your world championship and having him lose to a junior heavyweight in New Japan Pro Wrestling. To me, that sends the wrong message. It's purely my booking opinion. I would have had either Jay Lethal go over in this match, or I would have negotiated for Jay Lethal to participate in the Best of the Super Juniors, and he had better have gone far in that tournament. Otherwise, this booking made no sense to me. And in the main event, the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks defeat Hiroshi Tanahashi and the Addiction, which is made up of Christopher Daniels and Kazarian. Solid main event. You know, Kenny Omega coming back to Ring of Honor is always a beautiful thing. I actually am still hoping that at the end of this contract year, he finds a way to get to WWE. I know it sounds like I'm just like a die-hard WWE guy. I'm not. I love just about everywhere, but they are the biggest platform, so you get the most exposure. I don't like having to tune into YouTube or some online distributor to find matches that I can't always see. You know, some people have the Ring of Honor programming on television. It was announced today they have a new partnership with a new television company that they're taking over, and maybe that'll help their distribution, but I don't like having to search for matches. I just don't. I know I could turn on the television on Monday and Tuesday nights, and I know I'm getting WWE programming. If I wanted to go search for something, I'll go to their own network and search for it. So I like their accessibility of their product. That's why I keep pushing for all these people to make it to WWE. Kenny Omega is one of the people I'd love to see there. Tanahashi I'd love to see there. I'd love to see Okada get there. You know, Will Ospreay, Cody, I'd like to see him go back there. Dalton Castle would be great there. There's so many of these talents, and it's just I'm not thrilled with the distribution of everybody else. So that's why I pushed the WWE product so hard. The Dominion card, we've talked about this before, June 11th. It'll be at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. You can see it on the New Japan Pro Wrestling internet page, their on-demand service. They have their full lineup announced. Cody Rhodes is going to take on Michael Elgin. Roppongi Vice is going to defend the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship against the Young Bucks. The World Heavyweight Tag Team Championship will be defended when War Machine defends against the Guerrillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tonga Roa, the brothers that are the descendants of the Barbarian. Hiroki Goto is going to get a rematch with Minoru Suzuki, who took the Never Openweight Championship. This time it'll be a lumberjack match. Hiroshi Tanahashi gets his rematch with Tetsuya Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, and Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega will meet one more time for that IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, the rematch from Wrestle Kingdom 11 that earned 6-star rating from the Wrestling Observer. All right, quick recap of Raw. As I said, by the time this episode is uploaded and gone, you guys will have seen Raw. I didn't want to put these results out there too soon because I don't want to ruin anything for anybody if you're watching. So Kurt Angle is not going to be on the show this week. Instead, Miz and Ambrose are going to be the co-general managers, which is going to be a very awkward situation. Ambrose is going to book 2 matches to open the show. He's going to book the Miz versus Finn Balor, and Kalisto, Braun comes out. He's looking for Roman Reigns, and Kalisto wants another match after last week. So Ambrose books Kalisto versus Braun. Braun says he could beat him with one hand tied behind his back, so that's the match. One hand tied behind his back versus Kalisto. It's confusing whether or not Miz's championship shot is on the line in this match because they don't really hype it up very much. But the Miz DQs Finn Balor in their match, which then causes Ambrose to come out and restart the match. And then he has Maurice removed from ringside. And at the end of the match, Balor ends up picking up the win. I don't know if that means Finn Balor now gets a shot at Dean Ambrose or what that means. I know we'll see more about this topic at the end of the show. In the back, we get a Nia Jax moment where she comes up to Alexa Bliss. She wants a title shot. She compliments her for not attacking her in her verbal tirade the previous week. Alexa Bliss says she's going to talk to Kurt Angle about getting her championship opportunity, which then, according to Nia Jax, makes them best friends, which is awkward and strange and awesome all at the same time. In the ring, we get Alexa Bliss taking on Mickie James. It's a non-title match. Bliss has Nia Jax at ringside with her. Mickie James has Bayley out at ringside. At the end of the match, Nia Jax ends up tripping up Mickie James, which leads to Alexa Bliss picking up the win. And Bayley and Bliss end up tearing it down up the rampway and fighting all the way into the back while Nia Jax destroys Mickie James. The Miz comes out. He's going to book Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt for the end of the show. You had to expect some kind of rebuttal from Miz after he got put in a match and lost. Samoa Joe cuts a promo in the back all about Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is going to attack Joe in the back, and there's going to be a brawl that ensues, which obviously is going to lead to something later in the evening. Braun Strowman comes out. He defeats Kalisto after Roman Reigns attacks him. Roman Reigns is all banged up. He's all bandaged up. They battle all over the arena. Reigns ends up injuring his arm. Kayfabe storyline. This is how they're going to write him off television for the next 2 months with this injury that he supposedly received from Reigns that he already had. Sheamus and Cesaro win the tag team turmoil match that we spoke about in a previous podcast episode. They defeat all the other teams in the match. They end up attacking Golden Truth when it's over, which brings out the Hardy Boys for a stare down. I like the new attitude of Sheamus and Cesaro. I think it's necessary. They make a great monster heel tag team. The only thing it does, though, is it postpones their singles pushes, which, Sheamus has had when Cesaro is still waiting. I'd like to see Cesaro win that championship at some point. Seth Rollins is going to get a disqualification victory over Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe keeps attacking him. The referee keeps telling him to stop, and he won't. So he ends up getting disqualified. TJ Perkins has yet another victory over Jack Gallagher. I have no idea why we keep seeing these matches. Neville's out on commentary after the match. He's attacking Jack Gallagher repeatedly until Austin Aries makes the save. He's got his legs all banged up and he's out hobbling around, but whatever. Again, these cruiserweights are given almost no time, and when they are given time, it's the same match every single week. They need to get more creative with that. They have essentially a squash match. Sasha Banks destroys Alicia Fox, and then The Miz is out on commentary for the main event. He's out there to watch Ambrose and Bray Wyatt. At the end of the match, he uses the championship to hit Bray Wyatt, he hits Ambrose, leading to Bray Wyatt picking up the win. Miz declares that next week he's going to win the title. So I suppose that the loss earlier in the evening to Finn Balor did not preclude him from getting his championship opportunity, unless it's just him making another match for the championship for next week in his last active duty as the acting general manager. Whatever. Please don't forget, this Saturday night, 9 p.m., we're going to have that second Fro Wrestling Podcast special event. We're going to try to get your input, your feedback instantly on this 256-team tournament that we're putting together for you guys. Since the 128-man singles tournament went over so well, we'll go with this big tag team tournament. Don't forget to go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast, to become a member of our Patreon fan club. And then that is all the time we have for this episode. It seems like time just flew by in this one. Check back with us tomorrow. We'll check in on SmackDown, any other tidbits we come up with between Raw and then. Special thanks as always out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all of our music and sound effects we use throughout today's show. Today's podcast, as always, is sponsored by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to www.thegamecrafter.com/sketchypeople to pick up your copy today, and to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. Be sure to shoot over to our website at www.frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life educational planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today, and if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsjsports.com/WWE for the latest articles on the world of professional wrestling. Until the next episode, take care, everybody, and be safe.